Welcome, nieuwe episode of the Market Reporters. And every week we talk about the market, the financial markets. And we love to talk about sectors. And today we're going to talk also about sectors, but related to the elections.
Yeah, one week.
Yeah, but newspapers and magazines and TV stations are of course full of the elections and the outcome and the consequences. And we're also going to talk about the possible consequences for us investors with Trump as the next president.
Yeah.
And we are not giving our opinion because it's not interesting for you.
About the stocks that we're going to talk about in that sense. No, but what I think is important, and I think is a big question mark for everybody, is the tariffs. So the additional tariffs that Trump mentioned he's going to put on import from products from outside of the US. And I think you made a very comprehensive analysis of what it is that he's going to do and what sectors will be affected mostly. So you're going to explain us that, and then you explain one sector, and I'll explain 4 other companies or stocks that you should be careful with, because based on their volume, they're very much depending on the United States. So Casper.
Yes, first of all, I want to mention that Trump, started already in 2016 until 2020 with the increasing the import taxes. And Biden, he did the same. He increased it even more. So it's not a Trump thing. No. It's a US thing.
Yeah.
And he's saying, okay, he says, okay, there are it's not a one level playing field in the world. So I want to increase taxes, and I want to protect my own country, and I want to generate extra income through taxes. It is said by him that he wants to increase from the first moment with 10% of products. And he says he already named countries like, of course, China, South Korea, India, Brazil, and the European Union. And we talk here from a European Union perspective. With a 10% income tariff, it has a lot of consequences. We're going to talk about the consequences. First of all, I want to highlight, maybe you know it, about the export and the import of the US. And if you look at where is the US exporting to, number 1, that is Canada, so their neighbor on the north. Number 2 is their neighbor on the south, is Mexico. It's the second most important country partner from an export perspective. Number 3, Japan, then United Kingdom. And if you look at the European Union, then we are number 2. So still, the US export more to Canada than to the whole European Union. I think quite interesting. Absolutely. If you look at from the other side, where are they importing from? Number 1, China.
Also quite remarkable.
Yeah, quite remarkable. Number 2, again, Mexico. So you see, and of course another part of his program of the next 4 years has a relation to the Mexicans. But the Mexicans are number 2 or maybe number 1 most important partner.
Yeah, both ways. In and out.
From an economical perspective. So
Absolutely.
that you have to take in perspective, and he also will take it in perspective for all the measurements that he will incorporate. So in Mexico, number 2, Canada, Japan, and Germany. So that's the first one from the. Yeah. If you look at the European as a whole, then we are the most important one. So America imports the most from the European Union. That amount, what they are importing, is around $3.2 trillion. And if you charge 10% on it, it's $0.32 trillion.
Yeah.
If you look at the whole sources of revenues of the US federal government, that is around 5 trillion, a little bit less. So that amount, 10% of the total sum that they import, is around 7%. So if they charge 10% on everything that they are importing, they will generate 7% more income. And I think if he will do it, then he will show that. I say, well, look, then we have 7% more income. On the other hand, you import also inflation. Europe will be the same, so for exporting it will be the same. And inflation is one of the things that a lot of voters chose for Trump, because he said Biden didn't do enough about inflation. I think that we had a whole high inflation all around the world. So it can generate 7% more income. If you look at the European Union, which countries are exporting the most to America? Now, Germany is number 1, Italy is number 2, Ireland, France, and the Netherlands. And Germany, if you see, is more than double the amount than the number 2, Italy. So Germany, where we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, I think Germany is already in a storm, and this can be even more heavy for them.
Yeah.
If you then look at the sectors or which sectors from Europe are exporting to the US. Number 1, medicines. Number 2, cars and motors. And number 3, medical equipment is number 1. Cars and vehicles are number 2, and motors number 2. And then medicines are number 3. And then petroleum and gas and etc.
Yeah.
So before I give it to you, I want to close off where we also spoke about a couple of weeks ago about the German car industry. And if you look at the amount of sales of the German brands to the US, then is the number 1 BMW, the number 2 is Mercedes, and the number 3 is Volkswagen. But the number 4 is Audi, part of Volkswagen, and Audi and Volkswagen together is more than 50% than BMW, the number 1. So this can have, again, because we highlighted the problems with Volkswagen also a couple weeks ago.
In a big storm, eh?
This can be another big
hit for Volkswagen.
Headwind for Volkswagen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is the car industry. Looking at the other sectors, Martin?
Yeah, I picked a few companies out based on their dependency on the US, and the first one was like the number 1 sector, which is most important, which is the medical equipment. And the company that popped my mind was Phillips. Phillips, of course, also a company that was had a lot of bad news about the apnea machines, so the sleeping machines for your breathing. A lot of litigations and court cases going on around them. But for them, it's also the company that is from the 4 that I'm talking about, the one with the most dependency on the US. 40% of their revenues are coming from US related business. So extremely important. They make scanners, they make all sort of smaller medical equipment. So extremely important. If that's going to be increased with 10%, yeah, they will feel that definitely quite a lot. Then the second sector was the cars and that you just talked about. The third sector is the medication. So the medication is German companies. They are also the country that exports the most medication to the US from all the countries in the world. And in this case, the company that I looked at was Bayer and Merck. Bayer has a dependency of 33% of their turnover that comes from the United States. They approximately generate 17 billion. So imagine that it's if that will be increased, it's almost 2 billion extra of costs that they have that they don't have at this moment. Looking at Merck, it's also a company that is very active in the healthcare solutions, mainly electronic sensors for instance, for insulation, for when you have diabetes, also other more generic medication. They have a dependency of 30% from the United States. So also there, big chunks of their revenue are coming from the United States. So these companies will feel it if they have to pay this additional 10%. So I really hope that they manage to get a good deal out with Trump. But as you know, maybe you saw it in the news this morning, they also had some big troubles in the government that was big in the headlines this morning. Looking at the fourth sector, which is the gas and mainly the petrol sector, so the petroleum, the energy sector. Yeah, they're the company. If you're looking at Europe, you have 3 main players. You've got BP, British Petroleum. You've got Shell from the Netherlands now, also listed in the UK, of course. Maybe it is in English now, but we always still think that it's from the Netherlands. And you have TotalEnergies from France. And TotalEnergies, of those 3, is the oil company with the biggest exposure to the United States. We're talking about 21% of their revenues are generated in the US, and mainly through LNG. And LNG, natural gas, that is something that they are very good in themselves as well in the United States. So, and as Trump said, I'm going to flood the market with Texas oil. Well, for them, it doesn't look very well, of course, and France on itself is already suffering. So I don't think they should go and ask for a lot of support if they're getting into trouble. So yeah, these 4 companies, if you have them in portfolio, as Casper also mentioned before in the Dutch vlog, maybe think about selling a call option, selling them with the profit that's still in there. Markets are still quite high, of course, or have a good thought about it, because they might get affected pretty badly with what is going to happen. We don't know if it's going to happen. Maybe they get really good deals, but why would you take uncertainty? I think with investing, it's always a matter of building uncertainties for yourself. Don't rely on external factors too much.
Don't rely on hope, but rely on the facts and what's on the table. Follow the news, and it is an extra risk. So take that risk in consideration. You can also accept that risk, and a lot of them, like Volkswagen, is already really low, and maybe you say that it only can go up. It's possible, but it's not. It's also possible to go down. But take this in consideration. Go through your portfolio and say, okay, hey, this can have a high exposure, or maybe you think that. Nothing will happen, or EU makes a good agreement with the US, then no. But for what the knowledge from now, it is an extra risk. So take that in consideration.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
See each other next week.
Dit is je dan.